And we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Author Celebration Live. My name is Ella from She Rises Studios, and I am so excited to have you with us for a powerhouse session today. We are spotlighting Cruz Control by Melissa Cruz, a must read for anyone in real estate or thinking jumping in. This book isn't just another how to, it is a roadmap, a mentor, and a mindset shift all in one. So, in case you didn't know, Melissa is a real estate coach, a leader in the industry, and the voice of clarity in a space that can feel overwhelming for so many new agents. So, let's welcome her in. Melissa, welcome. Congratulations on this amazing launch.
Thank you so much. I'm like, the day is here.
Yeah, it's really great to have you here. So let's start with the beginning. What inspired you to write Cruise Control?
So that's such a great question. First of all, I never would have considered myself to be a writer necessarily. It was always something that I wanted to do. But when I think about the why behind it, it goes back to my childhood. I've always been the person that helped the underdogs, right? Like with the, and I know you and I have talked about this before, but with such a high failure rate in our industry, I just felt like they need some help, right? Like there could be reasons why, that are out of someone's control. And, when they decide to get into the business and within 2 years, they decide to leave the business. But if there was anything that I could do to help shrink that gap, this is exactly what the book was about. It's who it's for. It's what it's for. It's to help those that really just don't know, have a place to start and some direction and permission right away to build the business that they love and on their own terms, so it's really for the underdogs who really don't have any help, but have the most excitement and the most twinkle in their eyes. And it's for those people. I hope they answer the question.
Yes, you did. You did amazing. And you mentioned some uncertain moments. So how do you advise agents to approach clients' relationship in those early uncertain moments? And how does your book help address that?
Yeah. Well, I do find that there is a huge lack of confidence, right? I mean, in anything that we do, any career path or any hobbies or whatever we do, there's just a lack of confidence, right? And so I find that if I can help an agent learn about what they've got going on already in their life and to work with the people that they already know, like, and trust, at least for the first few months, that helps build their confidence and learning how to ask great questions, right? That also helps with, people's confidence in getting the business. But I think that lack of uncertainty is that they just don't know what they don't know. And so I do my best, not that the book has all of the answers for every situation, but I do share stories of how I struggled through that in the beginning and kind of what I did, and just, taking it one day at a time.
Yeah, that's very important to address all of those second thoughts. And what are some of the biggest misconceptions new agents have when you think they get their license?
Well, I think the biggest misconception, and this I think just goes for the consumer in general, is that we make a lot of money, right? Which there is the possibility to do that. So don't get me wrong. There are people that are making a very healthy living selling real estate. And I mean, it's a lot of the reason why people get into it. But I don't think people realize that it's hard work. We don't just put a sign in the yard. We don't just say, hey, I have my license, and people come out of the woodworks to hire us for the job. It takes hard work. It takes learning and planning and intention and clarity around who you want to work with and what you're doing to earn the business, right? Like real estate can be fruitful, but you've got to earn it. You've got to work hard. You've got to study. You've got to be the actual expert you're saying you are in order for the big payday to come, right? It's possible, but I think people think that they get into real estate and they're going to get rich so fast, and that's not necessarily the case. It takes a little bit of time.
Yeah, I think it's really important to say that, from your own experience, to share that and let people know that it is a possibility, but you need to work so hard first.
Yeah. And I'm sorry.
No, please go ahead.
And understanding that this is a career, it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. Okay. I have met many of agents who got into the business during COVID, and yes, that was fruitful for many people, but it wasn't for a lot either. And so while some have found success rather quickly, it was a really weird market, and a market that we had never seen before. And that's not true to what it's like to build a real estate business. And it really is a marathon. As long as you take one step at a time, you keep moving moving the needle forward, you will have a successful career. But just understanding that this is not something that's going to be a get rich tomorrow type of industry, not at all.
And maybe can you walk us through one of the step-by-step plans a new agent can start applying today, keeping that in mind?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I typically would advise, right, for new agents is let the people know that know you, like you, trust you. Let them know that you're in the business, right? You can call them, you can text them, you can handwrite them letters, but think about what you want to say. Think about the value you want to offer. And a lot of times what people don't realize is that the skill set you bring to the business could be your key to success. But people seem to get into real estate and forget that they were like somebody before, forget that they had a career before this. For some people, it's their second or third career. There's tons of value you bring to the table by just paying attention to what skills you have that can transfer really well into real estate, and start there. Like start with who you know, what you already know, what you do well in, and then build that momentum from there. Everything else you will learn along the way. Next month will be my 9 years in the business, and I still learn things all the time. It is the beauty of the business. But starting where you are, looking at what you've got as far as momentum you've got in your life, and starting there, and then you can start to branch out as you learn more, and into different strategies that all are within your strengths.
That's amazing. The way you share that you're still learning, it's
Oh
so
yeah.
that's really amazing. And before we continue, I just want to spotlight what this book represents, because Cruz Control is already becoming a go-to resource for new and struggling agents, and it's no wonder. Melissa's experience, her step-by-step framework, and her heart for mentorship really shine through. So this book offers clarity, confidence, and control in a business that can feel chaotic without the right foundation. You
Mhm.
know that.
Yes, that and loneliness. I don't think people realize how lonely this could be as well. We're so excited to get into a business, to gain all this freedom, and then we get it, and we're the most loneliest we've ever been in our life. And then that brings its own struggles. You don't know what questions to ask, who to go to for support, what direction to go in. And sometimes I see people leave just because of that. And it's really sad.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And now that you talk about this early stages, what's the strategy from the book that's helped your clients build momentum early on?
Build how my clients, or like my coaching clients?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say, so once you start with the people that you know, right, like you and trust you, then learning about who you are, right? So taking different personality tests, the DISC profile test is a great one. Strength Finders is a buttload of personality tests to learn who you are and how you operate, because that is truly where your strengths lie. And so when you tap into your best self, then that helps you make decisions on how to then build a business within your strengths to attract the right people that you're meant to work with. So it's a lot of self-learning and giving yourself grace, and maybe unlearning some things you've picked up, maybe, by nature, whatever. And, but learning who you are, I think that was also another thing for me. I recognize, oh, I am this type of person. Well, what does this type of person like to do? How do they find success? And I was starting to gain clarity about how I operated just as a human being. And that helped me, clarify who I wanted to work with, why I wanted to work with them, and make better decisions about how I was going to do it. Right. Because at the beginning, a lot of times we're looking to our left, to our right, looking at who has built a business of success, who has gotten rich fast, in their eyes. And you're not really tapping into who you are and if that's going to work for you. I find building this business can be really fun and creative if you allow the space to do that. It doesn't have to be just a handful of things that are common, in our industry. And so it just gives people a lot of creativity, but starting with yourself. Learn yourself, understand yourself. That will then help you appreciate and understand how to start working with other people, communicating. And again, the more clarity you can find, the better. The better you are, the better your people are, the better service you provide, all the way around.
Thank you for that. And I don't know if you can share maybe a common mental block you see in new agents, and any piece of advice that you can give to them if they're feeling unsure or stuck.
Well, I do find that when I work with a client, one of the first things that causes an aha moment and immediate action is when they get permission to build the business how they want to. You know, when you get into it, there's a million people telling you what to do, how to do it, what worked for them, and that's fantastic. And that probably will never stop, right? And that's great that people want to share. However, you need to remember that if it doesn't align with you and it's not something that you're really good at or is one of your strengths, then park it for now, right? And then the other piece of that is understanding your calendar and how to build a calendar for success. That's the other thing I talk about a lot in this book is we get into this business to seek freedom, and then that's not what we get. The first couple of years, I'm like, this is not what I signed up for. And so I had to really take some time and look back, and look at how I was spending my time, what was I doing, why was I hitting a wall, and really understanding that of anything that we get in abundance, time is not one. So how we spend it, the gift, waking up today is a gift, and how we spend it matters so much. And so if we can pay attention to our calendars, when we have the best energy, what's our best activity that brings us joy, the energy that goes out to the universe. I find that when people can do that they spend less time in their business and more time doing the stuff that they wanted to when they got into it, which is the whole point, right? Work your business smart, make some money, and then live life at the same time.
Thank you. And maybe I'm curious if there's something you've learned when writing the book, something that you didn't know but realized when you were organizing everything.
Yeah, I had a lot of stories. Like I teach, so I know I do have a handful of stories that I like to go back to with different topics that I teach, but I realized that I have so many stories and I actually feel pretty confident. When I got into the business, I would hear agents talk and I'm like, oh my gosh, I am never going to get to that place, and being able to share my experiences, the good, the bad, the ugly. I was like, damn, I've done some work, over the years, and I feel pretty confident. And I'm still learning. I'm in a new city, new town, new state. Been here for a year and a half, and there's still so much that I'm learning every day. But it does make me better. But it was just funny when I was writing it, the amount of stories that I had, and I had to kind of take some out. It was hard deciding what stories to share. How vulnerable did I want to be in the book, and which I'm not one to not share. And so I do get pretty vulnerable, but I find that the more vulnerable I can be, the less alone people feel. And so I hope that the readers can relate to that and they see themselves in that and know that you're not alone, and what's happening to you may be happening to somebody else. And we've got to stand up and champion each other in this business for all of us to make it.
I think it's really interesting to learn a little bit more about the process, about how you decided to tell these stories and the way you decided to do so.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that.
Of course. Yeah. And I try to think about, when I got into the business, what did I need? Right? What were some of the things that I got that I didn't really need? And so I try to take it back all the way to, if I were to get my license again today for the first time, what would I need this time to be successful faster? That's how I wrote the book.
Thank you, Melissa. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, for sharing your story, and most importantly, your heart with us today.
Thank you so much.
Because Cruz Control is such a gift to the real estate, and I know that it's going to change the trajectory for so many agents out there. So thank you for that and for being here today.
Thank you so much. I really do hope so. Again, I don't have all the answers. I am not the one-stop shop for how to build this business, but I do share how I did it, how I continue to do it, my mistakes that I've made, so that hopefully I can save you both time and money, because that's great.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I do. And, I hope that there's some day that this book will be a part in helping change that 87% to less than 50%, of people that make it in this business. So.
Yeah, let's hope it goes that way. I'm pretty sure it will. And to everyone watching, you can grab your copy of Cruz Control on Amazon right now and start taking action toward a thriving real estate career. So thank you so much for tuning in to this author celebration, and we'll see you at the next one. And thank you once again, Melissa, for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.